It was a difficult phase because when I lost my eyesight in my 8th standard, towards the end of my 8th standard, I could see quite a bit, and I suddenly suffered from a disease called macular degeneration, where the rods and cones of the eyes keep deteriorating. It's a
Okay.
form of retinitis pigmentosa, and it was a big blow because in those days there was nothing much for people with visual impairment, and like now you have technology, you have so many other things, but in those days, and I was an amazing student. I used to always get 95 plus in my exams. I was a topper in class. I used to play cricket for my middle school team. I was a fast bowler. I was a voracious reader, and suddenly the world collapses around you. And the general question which you ask at that particular point of time is, why me?
Correct.
Why did it have to happen to me? And
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to yet another wonderful episode of the Lalith Dhanush Show. Today I have with me Dr. Rajdeep Manwani, who's my mentor, and he's a fantastic teacher and a TEDx speaker. He has several distinctions across his life. He's gone on TEDx. He has won the Presidential Award from Pranab Mukherjee, and he's a district level champion both in evaluation and in table topics from Toastmasters. Many people who've watched him are only in praises of this man and how wonderfully he could speak. And in this episode, you will see how Dr. Rajdeep Manwani overcame his personal challenges to become the person he is. If you are going through a tough time, watch this entire episode and I'm sure you will be super pumped, super motivated to get going in your life. Watch the entire episode and let me know how you feel about it down in the comment section below. Hello Rajdeep sir, welcome to the Lalith Dhanush Show. I'm so happy today to have you here because I still remember the first time I walked into the Toastmasters Club. When I saw you, I was like, wow, one day I want to be just as amazing as Rajdeep sir because I could just see you take the entire crowd by storm. Today, I must say it's an honor and privilege to share this seat with you, and I'm so happy that our viewers today could also get a sneak peek into your life, your journey, and how you've gone through it all. Thank you, sir, and welcome to our show.
thank you so much, Lalith. I think so. You have done yourself really proud by the way you speak, by the way you conduct, by the way you have started your new venture. And I think so now I should learn from you as time goes on. It's great to be here at the Lalith Dhanush Show.
Thank you so much, Rajdeep sir. And like you said, you just said learning from you. And I think one thing that's so great about you is that I've always seen you become better every single year. I've seen you participate in contests, and I only realized you keep adding things on into your arsenal, which is absolutely beautiful. So Rajdeep sir, I want to understand, what do you think about constant learning and how has that impacted you in your life?
There is this famous saying which goes that if you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, just amble. If you can't amble, crawl, but do something. Don't just sit around and do nothing. Don't just sit around and wobble. Just move forward. So I've always believed in that because life is a constant learning, and the moment you stop learning, that's the end of your progress. So I've always believed that in whatever small way you can, might be read a small quotation every day, might be read something inspiring every day, might be go out and experiment with a new job or try and do something new. So the philosophy should be, when was the last time you did something for the first time?
Wow.
So when was the last time you did something for the first time? And keep asking yourselves this question. Might be you have not tried your bungee jumping. So why not try it, right? Because we have a life which is quite short. So in that process, might be you'll overcome your fear.
Very true.
Might be in the process of going and helping somebody on a community service, you learn the pain of others. So I think so that the process of learning, I think so we've got this opportunity on this earth that we can explore, we can learn, and we can move around. So unless we learn that, we will never be. I am reminded of an incident which happened, where before I joined my college, when I had got an offer. I was working in Sivananda Electronics as a telephone operator, and there was my friend Girish, who was from the vocational rehabilitation center. He couldn't walk much, right? And he used to come to my house, and what happened was, at that time I had got an offer from the college to join as a lecturer.
Okay.
And the salary was almost the same. I was working in Sivananda Electronics as a telephone operator and sales coordinator, and I was getting around 2,500 there. And here also I got an offer but I always wanted to become a lecturer. So I was a little confused. And Girish came down to my house, and so when I told him this, I don't know, because I have a comfortable, cushy job over there, and now I have to take up this teaching. So he told Rajdeep, let's have a walk. And we walked towards the back of my house. I stay in Shantinagar, so at the back of my house there is a small cemetery. It's the Hosur cemetery. It's a Christian cemetery. And as we were standing near the cemetery, he told me something very, very interesting. He told me, Rajdeep, do you know this is the richest place in the world? I said, what do you mean it's the richest place in the world? He said, do you know, in this place lies so many unfulfilled songs which could have been sung, so many unfulfilled inventions which could have been made, so many unfulfilled entrepreneurial ventures which could have been taken, all because the persons didn't attempt. The graveyard is the place where lies thousands of people with hidden potential, unlimited potential. It is the richest place. And he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, Rajdeep, do you want to make it richer? And I think so. It changed my perspective. And just one small thing, as we were going back home, I remember that day there was this, I can't see, and it's quite amazing, a person who's lame and a person who's visually impaired walking together, because he's guiding me and I'm holding him. There was a lorry which just came and brushed me.
Okay.
And Girish said something else. He said, Rajdeep, why are you seeking security in life when there is no security of life? Why are you seeking security in life when there's no security of
life?
And I think so that's the mantra which we should follow, that every time learn something, do something, express yourself, and that's what makes a great personality.
Absolutely, sir. And I definitely agree with you. And today I feel a lot of youngsters, especially who are getting a little lazier with tech, or, they understand that they do not want to throw themselves out there. And like you said, the cemetery is the richest place simply because of the untapped potential that it has.
Yes.
Now, sir, the reason people don't tap into their potential, I feel, is because they're scared of failing. They're really scared of failing people's opinion, right? And now you also spoke about your vision being impaired. Sir, I'm sure as a human being, you would have also had doubts where you would have felt, hey, can I actually become the best possible version of myself, or can I achieve my dreams when there's a roadblock like this? How did you go through that whole phase, sir, and how did you become who you are right now?
It was a difficult phase, because when I lost my eyesight in my 8th standard, towards the end of my 8th standard, I could see quite a bit, and I suddenly suffered from a disease called macular degeneration, where the rods and cones of the eyes keep deteriorating. It's a form of retinitis pigmentosa, and it was a big blow, because in those days there was nothing much for people with visual impairment, and like now you have technology, you have so many other things, but in those days, and I was an amazing student. I used to always get 95 plus in my exams. I was a topper in class. I used to play cricket for my middle school team. I was a fast bowler. I was a voracious reader, and suddenly the world collapses around you. And the general question which you ask at that particular point of time is, why me?
Correct.
Why did it have to happen to me? And I must tell you one thing, that's not a great question to ask, especially when you're in difficult times or when you're in tough times, because a question of why in a difficult time doesn't give you answers, because it's good to, when you're starting an entrepreneurial venture, to ask why.
True,
but it's not good to ask it when you're in a difficult situation, because it's a loopy question. Why? And you'll never get answers for why. Why should the greatest apostle of love, Jesus, be crucified? Why should the greatest propagator of non-violence, Mahatma Gandhi, be shot dead in such a violent manner? there are no answers for why, but there are answers for what and how.
True.
So I think so. I didn't have the maturity at that time, but I think so at times of difficulty you should ask, what should I do to come out of this? How should I come out of this much stronger? Then those are better questions to ask. So I had I had a very good support system in my family. So I had a very good support system in my family, and I remember I was crying one day in my room and I was very upset because of this, and I felt a gentle hand on my shoulder and I turned around and it was my father who said, don't keep your dreams in your eyes, they will wash away as tears. Keep them in your heart so that each heartbeat reminds you to achieve those dreams. So that has been a pivotal moment of my life, which gave me the support to strive. So I said, it's okay. What I lack in vision in my eyes, I will make up with my passion in my heart.
Wow.
So I started thinking in that way and I started moving in that way. So I said, nobody can extinguish the heartbeat from my soul. So I thought that way. And there was one more inspiration, my grandfather, another incident which stands out at that particular point of time. Many people used to come, in those days to my house, and my grandfather used to be there and his friends used to come and they say, oh my God, your grandson has become blind. What is he going to do? They used to speak in Hindi and they used to say, kya ho gaya, tumhara pota andha ho gaya, kya karega? And my grandfather very loudly, clearly, so that even I could hear it in my room, he used to reply, he used to say it in Hindi, I'll translate in English. He used to say, what if my grandson cannot see the world? There will be a day when the world will see my grandson. क्या हो गया अगर मेरा पोता दुनिया को देख नहीं सकता है, एक दिन ऐसा आएगा जब दुनिया उसको देखेगी. So basically these two support systems, I had a support system of my sister who used to read out books for me. I had the support system of my mother who used to encourage me. So there was I had good teachers who helped me out. So I think so those days were very difficult. I know you have to go through that, you have to fight your battle alone, but when you have a good support system, people who are there at your back and you know that they are backing you, it makes a big difference. And I think so that's what the lesson is, that it's okay if we can be a support system to somebody like this, in a difficult situation, and we do not know what that person can become, right?
True, sir. Very true. And Rajdeep sir, I definitely do agree with you, irrespective of what challenges you have in your life, be it spiritual, mental, physical. Having that support system is the only way to grow. And if you don't, unfortunately, your growth is limited and you cannot grow beyond that. And I also believe today, some of us are lucky to have our family members as our immediate support systems, but some of them need not have it because family members tend to throw their dreams onto people, their expectations and all of these things. I want to understand, apart from family, now family can only do you so much, but if you have to be a good speaker or a great speaker or even a great human being, you need a mentor, you need a guru, you need somebody who can give you that light in the tunnel of darkness. Who have you looked up to, sir, in terms of as a mentor? Do you still do that? Can you name some of them and how they've made an impact in your life?
Very true. But for me, Lalith, as an individual, over a period of time, I have made this philosophy in life that everybody I meet in life will be a mentor for me and will teach me something in life or the other. So, let's say when I go to class and there is a student who cracks a joke, I'll say, wow, okay, this is the way we can cultivate a sense of humor. When I joined Toastmasters, I saw some people speaking loudly and clearly, oh wow, this is the way I can learn. When I see the sweeper on the in the morning at 5:30 cleaning the streets, I say, wow, look at the commitment. They are doing so much for us so that we can live in a clean city. Correct. So for me, my mentors are many. Naming one or two mentors wouldn't give justice to the whole thing, but everybody, even you, Lalith, have become a mentor for me on how to start an entrepreneurial venture. So for me, I think so mentors, as long as we can connect it to the first question, which is a lifelong learning.
Correct.
It's not enough to confine yourself to one learning. So for me, every individual contributes in some way or the other. I'm a personality who gets inspired very easily. So I get inspired very easily by anybody. So when I see a video, I'll say, wow, this is something which I can learn from this person. This is something which I can learn. So I have got multiple people from counseling. Suppose I went to an academy, I learned, oh, this person counsels so well. suppose in Toastmaster there's a lady who gives snacks every week. I say, how can you be so giving?
Yes.
Right? So every time I've encountered people, there has been a little bit of an electrical impulse which has gone off in my heart and in my brain, and I say, okay, this is something which I have to learn. So an aggregate of all those impulses, an aggregate of all those ideas and opportunities and learnings makes a person. So for me, the most important thing to learn over here is, can you see something good in somebody where you can learn something every day? Might be you're seeing a person on the road and he's holding out an umbrella and he holds it out for somebody else. Wow, that can be an inspiration for you.
Correct.
For example, you can see a person who cuts an auto guy who cuts a person on the car, and that car guy just smiles. So you can learn that you can maintain yourself as that person every day. So I think so mentors are huge, and when you learn from multiple mentors, you also develop several skills on your own, right?
Very true, sir. And I think what you said is absolutely fantastic. And when you've opened yourself to that learning and you understand the importance of it, you can literally understand from every nook and corner of life. And I think that's when you also realize that life's become so rich. And I must tell everybody who is watching that for me, amongst a few people where I have really put that tag as a mentor, Rajdeep Sir, I believe is a true mentor, because every time I have a roadblock, be it in my coaching or be it in speaking, I think one of the first people I approach and speak to is Rajdeep Sir. Today I can tell you that in the Toastmasters fraternity and in the teaching fraternity, and there are so many people who look up to you, and I'm so honored to be sharing this moment with you, sir, because for me it's a testimony, right? It's a relationship that I've had for 7 years with you, sir, and I've learned so much, and thank you for all of that you've taught me.
Oh, thank you so much, Lalith. You're being very, very kind, and I think so you've been extremely kind, and I feel Lalith is one of the most distinguished persons in speaking, following his career, following his passion, doing your MBA from Ireland, coming back and following your passion, getting your job. And I think so you've been an ideal student, Lalith. So I'm getting a little nervous now, because sometimes when people like you praise me, you feel a little nervous. So I think so it's brilliant, Lalith, what you have done over this period of time, and conducting this podcast, getting everything in order, starting your own venture. So it's an absolute honor being with you.
Thank you for those kind words, Rajdeep Sir. And sir, moving on, I want to actually really put a few questions that I don't know if people have asked you before. I've always wondered to perceive the world from a person who actually cannot see, right? And I've often felt that, does that person actually want to, like, if given a choice, would he change that? And often when I've researched, people say I don't want to change that, because in their mental construct they have it a certain way. So I want to ask you that, sir, if there was a button that could change the way it is for you visually, would you actually take that plunge and press that button so that you could see the world again?
Now what happens, let me tell you one thing. See, I got my visual impairment at my 8th standard. So till then I could see the world pretty clearly. So I have memories of the world, right? I remember what is blue, what is green, what is yellow. I remember what a person looks like. I remember what a TV looks like, and all that. So might be those people whom you have researched are people who are born blind or something like that. But you know what? As an individual, when a person goes through a difficult situation and he loses one of his senses, generally there's a perception that if your one sense goes, you sharpen your other senses. But that may not be true. What I feel is that you start valuing your other senses much more.
Wow.
So anything which is free and abundant, you don't value. You don't value air, right? Because it's free and abundant, you can breathe it. But imagine you have a lung infection and you're in a hospital and you need that oxygen cylinder. You'll be gasping for air, and you'll value that air, and you'll pay 1,000 rupees for that. Your mother's love you don't value. But when something happens to your mother, you'll realize how important your mother is. I always tell girls in my class that you will never realize the value of your mother unless you get a mother-in-law. So, so we don't value things which are free and abundant. So your eyesight comes natural to most of you, right? So you don't value it. But when you lose your eyesight, you start valuing it much more. You value your hearing much more. Oh, you value your touch much more. You value your taste much more. You value every other sense much more. So the value which you attach to the senses become much more, and you know that it is not something which you can take for granted. So given a chance, I would definitely take my vision. I would definitely press a button and see. It's not that for the sake of anything else, but I think so everything happens for a reason, and everything is perfect as it is. Life, because every imperfection in life has a perfect lesson for you to learn. But if given a chance, I would love to get back and look back at the world and see in that perspective, from here back again, and see how much more I can contribute with my eyes.
Yes.
As it was, right?
Yes, and I think that's a brilliant answer, sir. And my takeaway from that is gratitude, right? And if you don't have something in life, and when you get it back, the gratitude that you build is so high. And I can tell for one, with the small lessons that I've learned. For example, when I went to Ireland, I used to always complain to my mother, "You've made the same upma again, you've made the same thing again." But when I went there, I realized there was somebody to actually feed me. There's somebody to cook, and now that same thing that I did not like, I want it, right? And I think gratitude is such an important lesson. And with gratitude, you don't just you wait for blessings, you start counting your blessings, and that way more blessings will come to you.
Very true, very true, very true. I think so. Gratitude is the mother of all emotions, and there has been some astounding research which has been done that people who are happy in life have one common attitude, that is gratitude. So the mother of all attitudes is gratitude. So I think so. The University of Berkeley research says that people become 40% more happier when they maintain a gratitude journal.
Wow.
And sometimes if you might find it a little monotonous in the beginning when you start writing, okay, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. But I think so as you develop the taste that everything which you come in life, the air which you breathe, the water which you drink, because there are thousands of people in this world who do not experience what you are experiencing. And when you have that little gratitude, just understand the fact. I remember I had gone to Vidhan Sauda with my friend in his car. It was May, and it was very hot. And we were sitting in an AC car, and these beggars come to beg they knock on the door and they ask for money. And there was this girl who came and she knocked on the car. And since the car was an AC car, the window was very cold. So what she did is, she just forgot to beg. She closed her eyes and she kept her face on the window for that 45 seconds till the traffic signal was going on. For her, just feeling that coolness in that hot summer was such a great thing. And we complain about hundreds of things, right? We get a mosquito bite, we complain. We get a small cold, we complain. We want the entire universe to serve our bidding, right? So for every small thing, you want everything to align just to you. But imagine those thousands of children on the road who don't even have a shelter on their head, who don't have enough clothes. Means we are absolutely lucky. We are absolutely in those top 10% of the world who get food, clothing, shelter, and a decent life to live. Out of 780 crore people, there are 300 crore people who are homeless. There are 250 crore people who don't get food to eat. So we are actually blessed. So I think so. Even if we think in that perspective, we should actually feel really blessed that we are living on this earth and we have everything to think, to be grateful about.
Absolutely, Rajdeep sir. And I think that way the world becomes a lot more easier. Your troubles become a lot more easy to comprehend. And I believe, sir, a lot of times not many people directly get that gratitude kind of a feeling. And I feel they have to go through the turmoil of life and the ups and downs of life to only realize what they were going through was the actual good part of life. And a lot of that is attached to spirituality, right? And I believe spirituality for people is different, but spirituality by itself is the same. Now, I want to know, Rajdeep sir, what do you think about the word spirituality, and do you practice it? What kind of practice do you have to keep your intellectual brain, your speaking power? And because for me, your stories are just super awesome. I'm super captivated. I always have a lesson to take away. And I believe there's something beyond just your skills and your storytelling. So what is all of that, sir?
I think so. The goal of all goals. So let's realize one thing. Let me tell you a small story. There was once this, because generally, if you talk about spirituality, people say, who knows God exists? Who knows what is this? Is it actually that God exists or not? So there was this man who was traveling in a train, an old man, and there was a young boy. This was somewhere in the early 1900s, and they were going in this train, and this old man was reading a Bible, and this young man asked him, "Old man, why are you reading the Bible? Don't you know science has advanced so much? There is so much. We've got the rail tracks in those days, and we've got everything, and you don't have to believe in. We've got the antibiotics, and we've got so much. Why do you believe in God? God doesn't exist. It's all about science." And this man just continued smiling, and he kept reading. So after a few minutes, again this man, younger man, shouted out and he said, "Sir, what's wrong with you? Why are you reading the Bible? There's no God. It's only science. It's all about science." So this old man realized that this boy is not going to let him read the Bible. He closed the Bible and he started chatting with this boy. And when the station arrived, this was in the US, the young man and the old man were to get down from the station, and the young man said, "Old man, can you give me your card? It was such a nice treat talking to you." So when this older man gave him a card, this younger fellow almost collapsed. It was written there, Thomas Alva Edison. So he said, "Sir, you're the founder of Edison Laboratories. You're one of the greatest scientists. I've always been your fan. I want to visit you. Please, can you give me an appointment? I'm a student at the university and I want to meet you." So this Thomas Alva Edison said, "Great. Why don't you come and meet me on Wednesday morning at 10:30? So he went to the Edison Laboratories a little earlier at around 10 o'clock, and he was waiting there, and he saw a beautiful model of the solar system outside Edison Laboratory, the sun and the bulbs and all the planets revolving around the sun. And as soon as he went in, he said, "Such a beautiful model of the solar system, sir. From where did you get it?" Edison looked at him and said, "When I came in at 9:45, there was no model. I don't know how it's appeared." He said, "Sir, you're joking." He said, "No, I came in here." "Sir, what's wrong with you? How can it appear just like that? Don't you think you're acting foolish?" And Edison said something to him which I think so was very interesting. He said, "If you think that a model of a solar system cannot appear on its own, how do you imagine that the whole universe can start on its own and appear on its own? Don't you know the simple rule of science which says that where there is a creation, there is a creator. If there is a chair, there is wood. If there is a light, there is a source of light. Anything which is formed or created needs if there is a creation, there needs a creator. And nothing appears on its own. And even the creation is so perfect that if the earth was 5 kilometers closer to the sun, we would have all burned down. If instead of raining water, it rained sulfuric acid, we wouldn't live. If the trees started giving out carbon dioxide instead of giving oxygen, how can there be so much precision in this creation? So I think so there is a creator, and acknowledging that creator and acknowledging that there is a power which runs the universe is the basis of understanding spirituality. And how do you get in touch with that creator? Because in every religion it says that first there was nothing, and from that nothing something came. So I think so if you go back, how do you understand something? Suppose if you have to understand the rule of Ashoka, you have to go to the Ashoka's era and see what happened there, right?
Correct.
So if you have to understand God, you have to go to the origin. So let's say the first second when the world was born. Before that there was nothingness. And that first, before the first second, second is the time, there was nothingness. And I think so the basis of spirituality is getting into that nothingness, and the best way of getting into that nothingness is through meditation, where you actually sit quietly for some time and get lost in that nothingness. So I think so I follow a system where I get up at around 4:30 and meditate till around 5:15, 5:20, just observing my thoughts and trying to get lost in that nothingness, that silence. Just be in silence, being in that process, because your mind is wandering 101 times. It'll go from this place to that place. When you quieten your mind and go to that place, I think so that's the basis of spirituality.
I think that's a brilliant answer. And sir, meditation for all these years of centuries, I think it's a great knowledge that has been passed down. And today we have multiple forms of meditation. There are so many people, spiritual leaders who are giving this. And I really urge everybody to try doing this, because I always said one conflict of thought that I had with meditation was, like, back when I used to try it, like the previous last year, they used to say nothingness, right? So I thought nothingness was just something where I have to just empty my mind and not allow anything to come inside. And then when I stopped things from coming inside, then I was taking control. And then I soon realized I could never meditate. And then I started disliking meditation. I'm like, this cannot happen, it's the hardest thing. But then I realized that nothingness comes from, it's like the river, right? If you put a barrier, then it will flood. There'll be more. But if you allow it to flow, let it come and go, and you just focus on what has to be focused on, then eventually you will find that nothingness. And I think meditation is the right way
Just
to go.
observing your thoughts. So just see, like, your awareness, observing, as the thoughts keep coming, you'll have a cloud which comes. First you'll have a torrent of clouds.
Yeah.
Then slowly there will be one thought, and then there will be a gap between the thought. Getting into those gaps between those thoughts is getting into the silence, right? Then the gaps will become bigger. Just like when you get into a plane, when you go in first there are clouds, then you go above the clouds, and then there is the sky and you can sail through, right? So as the thoughts keep coming, you see, observe the thoughts, then there will be a gap and a gap and a gap, and then the gaps become bigger and bigger, and that getting into those gaps between your thoughts is meditation.
Yeah.
But without resisting your thoughts, right? If you
Correct.
keep resisting them, trying to force it, that doesn't happen.
True, true, sir. Sir, we're coming to the last part of this podcast, and I want to ask you a few things, sir. And this is related to your speaking journey. Now, everybody who's heard you speak, I've seen like halls of people stand up and give you a standing ovation. I've seen people who really admire you, the way you speak, the way you connect to this audience. Now, as a speaker, how do you get prepared for a speech? How do you get prepared for a presentation? What are some of the things that you do? Is it like tomorrow is my speech, I get prepared today, or is it something that you do continuously? What goes behind the speaker of Rajdeep Manwani?
Let me tell you one small story, and then I'll come back to this. I was invited to speak at the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan to a college, an MBA college, and in those days there was a person called Mathur Krishnamurthy who used to run this Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, and I was asked to give an orientation session for some MBA students. So I was about to walk into the class, and he said, Rajdeep, 100 hours, be careful. I said, sir, you're mistaken. I'm not a permanent faculty here. I'm not going to teach this class for the entire year. I've just come for an orientation session for 2 hours, and after that I'll be gone. He said, no, Rajdeep, I know, but there are 50 students, and 50 into 2 is 100 hours. If you don't deliver the goods in those 2 hours, you will be wasting 100 man hours. So I was a little taken aback at that point, but then after I gave the speech, I realized that as a speaker, you have a big responsibility, because when you're speaking, in that 1 hour where you have 60 people listening to her, they could have done 60 hours, could have been devoted for a community cause, could have been done for social work, could have been done for taking care of their family. But if you're taking that time, and time is the most important thing which a person has, your time is your life.
Correct.
1 hour goes from your life of how many ever hours, right? You're going to live. So as a speaker, when I go, I have that sense of responsibility that I shouldn't go out of this hall without touching and at least connecting and making them feel that it was worth, it shouldn't be that I would have done something else. So when I prepare, I generally have this very, very great sense of responsibility. So I'm taking up stories, or I'm picking up something. So, and the second thing is that when you're speaking, you have to speak something for which you feel connected with. So one is the responsibility to the audience, and the second, you have to strike that balance between connect and responsibility. So you're responsible to the audience in the same way, what is something which resonates with you, which connects with you. And when you balance both of them, when you speak from your heart, and then you have that sense of responsibility and humility that these are people who are giving me their time, and I shouldn't waste their time, I should respect their time and make it worthwhile for them, I think so you collect and you make a good presentation. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So now that gives me a lot of direction in terms of your responsibility as a speaker. Now, for the preparation that you have, because you always have a story, you always have something to give. Where does that come from? Is there a specific way that you store all these stories?
There was this famous method actor of yesteryears called Michael Caine. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's acted in several English movies, and somebody asked him, how do you act so naturally? And he had said a quotation which said, preparation is hard work, performance is relaxation. Preparation is hard work, performance is relaxation. So I think so I prepare. I generally go around, if a topic is given to me, I'll search the net for it. Like for example, some days back I had to speak at the Company Secretary's National Conference on Transformational Leadership. So go around, check out the details of it. So my preparation is generally done, one, identify the core concepts of what has to be spoken. Secondly, connect it with personal life incidents and incidents from the net which actually resonate with the audience. So, and also give a little scientific explanation, because people are generally curious, why does this work or does not work? So a combination of logic, emotion, stories is how I prepare, you know.
Superb, sir. And I think this could be a great takeaway, especially for a lot of people who are watching this. I'm sure you would want to be a great speaker, or you already are and you want to take it to the next level. So hearing it from somebody who's been there, done that multiple number of times, and throughout his almost half of his life he's been doing that. So Rajdeep sir, thank you so much. And before I let you go, one last question that I have. Sir, you've done very good until now, but where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? I know I sound like an interviewer questioning this in a job interview, but on a very personal level, I want to say, do you put that vision out there? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
I want to become one of the world's best motivational speaker, touching crores of people across the globe. I have a vision to touch at least 1 crore people before I die. So I have that vision, and I think I'll progressively move towards that vision in the next 5 years. Yeah.
Fantastic, Rajdeep sir, and thank you so much. For me, the last 25-30 minutes have just gone in a jiffy, and speaking to you itself is like, you know, we're in a state of trance and we are just in the moment. I want to hear more of you, and every word that you say has so much value and experience behind it. Thank you so much one more time, and I'm always, I'm always in awe of you and in your speaking, sir.
Thank you so much, Lalith. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, and I think so we both are in awe of each other. So I hope it will be an awesome podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.